the recent release of the new Obi-Wan Kenobi series. The finale just came out, so we're gonna kind of review the whole show altogether. And yeah, we're just gonna go down each episode and give our thoughts and give our rating as well. Shad, what's your overall
Episode
thoughts?
1, right? That was we first see where Obi-Wan's predicament is, Leia being kidnapped, stuff like. I'll be honest, the first scene with Leia being kidnapped when she's running away from the guys,
Yo,
from these
on a
trained
note,
killers, by the way. These are like
hey,
bounty hunters. She's running away from trained killers, and yet she's doing it easily. It's like a kid movie scene. But episode 1 was a decent starting point for this show. Episode 2, it felt a little bit dragged out, I would say, and I don't know if they should have played it out how he should, because Obi-Wan had a really hard time carrying Leia in that episode. And then later on, in like episode 4, he just easily holds the entire ocean. It seemed like it was harder for him to lift Leia up than it was to hold the entire ocean under the force, like pressure. Like, it should have made a clear progression of Obi-Wan improving his force abilities. They didn't really do that. Episode 2, there's some good stuff by episode 2. Leia and Obi-Wan's dynamic is really good. Reva, I'll be honest, I don't think I'm gonna say one positive thing about Reva in this entire episode. She feels like a character that just sticked into the show so that it wouldn't just be about Vader and Obi-Wan. It doesn't really make that much sense. Like, was she stabbed by Anakin or was she not? But it's like Reva as a character is not good. What do you think of Reva, Luke?
I just care about Obi-Wan and Vader, and that's what everyone cared about when they came into watching the show. Reva, in my opinion, she started off as annoying, and I don't know if that's what their goal was. They were trying to make her maybe get hated on a little bit or whatever, but as we progressed, they tried to like, oh, look at this man, her backstory, Anakin killing everyone around. I didn't really care still. Like, I didn't really find her character that compelling. Like, we dip into episode 5 and 6. That's when we really start getting to see her and her motives. It's still, for me, I was just like, listen, I want to see Qui-Gon. In episode 5, I want to see Qui-Gon. I want to see more. I want to see Vader and Obi-Wan fight. I want to see this stuff. I don't want to see Reva, her backstory, or this and that. I agree. Her whole character, in my opinion, is filler, because I think they were trying to make her compelling, trying to make like, oh, look at what Anakin did, killing these younglings, and here's an example of Vader and how he's hurt people. Oh, she's an example. Why? Did anyone really ask? No. This is Obi-Wan. This isn't about Reva. This isn't about her character. So I don't really like her too much. I mean, that's my opinion. Don't find her compelling.
Episode 3, what do you think of that, Luke? What do you think of that?
So I really didn't like what was going on with that. I think the episode, I could see what it was going for, but I think it was executed a little bit sloppy. When I was watching it, I was just kind of like, okay, I could see where they're going. Vader's being cool, killing all these people, but then when Obi-Wan and him fought, again, they could have executed better. Obi-Wan was kind of like flaking around, waffling, kind of like, shocked, all that. There was a certain point where I was like, okay, he's chasing you all this time, and you're still, you know what I mean? I don't know. I think the episode, it's still alright, but they definitely proved later on in the later on episodes. I would say this one, it's
Episode 3, I did initially think it was the best episode, but now obviously it's not the best episode. But I would say it's the third best episode. The whole duel, now that I think about it, it was a little bit underwhelming. We did get a better duel later on, so you could say that kind of makes up for it. You could say that was kind of like just a little test for Obi-Wan. The whole thing with, actually no, that was the last episode. The whole Grand Inquisitor getting stabbed thing was dumb. Alright.
They still didn't talk about it. That's one of
He just survived it. Like, oh yeah, I'm alive. Like, just like Reva is just like, oh yeah, I'm alive. I don't know. How the hell did Reva get healed from that? Like, it doesn't make any sense. But episode 4 was bad. Worst episode. It was, it had no heart to it. It didn't feel like, it felt like a machine trying to make a good Star Wars show. It felt like just manufactured. It had no heart. It had no feelings to it. You'd think a show about Vader and Obi-Wan would have a lot of, feelings, a lot of be really heavy. But that episode was the most flat thing I've seen in the Disney Star Wars. And that tells you a lot, because there's been a lot of flat things in this Disney Star Wars. The sequels, that is flatter than Rise of Skywalker, that episode, alright? It has nothing to offer. They wasted an episode with that. I literally have nothing good to say about it, except that one last scene in episode 4 where, Leia and Obi-Wan, you could see him, Obi-Wan's Leia's comforting Obi-Wan. That was kind of cool, alright? And maybe the beginning scene where we saw, we saw Obi-Wan, in the back of the tank, and then we saw flashes of Vader. That was kind of cool too, but other than that, I could literally only name 2 scenes that are good from that episode. That's sad, and episode should never have existed. They should have replaced it with something better. Episode 5, though, 5 was good. It started out with a really cool flashback to, Attack of the Clones, probably right before Attack of the Clones, with Anakin and Obi-Wan training. I thought those scenes were really cool. Frankly, if we didn't get those scenes, the show, basically Hayden would be there for nothing. Because he did pop up in episode 6, but those scenes are the only time we get to actually see his face clearly. I liked how they connected the lessons that Anakin, Anakin didn't learn because he still messed it up. I like how they connected the lesson Obi-Wan was trying to teach Anakin, into the present. That was kind of cool. That's a cool way to add a flashback. But Reva's the same. She's just... Vader was also pretty... In Return of the Jedi, we see him, super calculated. He's not really impulsive. But in this, he's pretty damn impulsive. He just wants to kill Obi-Wan. He just goes in there, it's where's Obi-Wan? That's all he cares about. He kind of has, a tunnel vision. That shows he's still more Anakin than he is the Vader we see in Return of the Jedi. The Vader and Reva duel was pretty cool. I like how Vader just destroyed Reva. That felt very realistic to me. I like how he was just dodging everything. Oh yeah, dodge. Just dodging everything. He's not even using his lightsaber, and he's still dodging everything. But I feel like I've spoken enough about that episode. How about you, Luke?
Episode 5 is where things really picked up. Episode 5 is kind of what I wanted. Episodes 1 and episodes 5 is stuff that I wanted to see from the Obi-Wan Kenobi show. When we got to episode 5, I'm like, alright, here we go. This is where the fun begins, man. And again, with the Reva stuff, I didn't really care about that, but it was really cool to see the flashbacks.
Oh yeah, the Anakin flashback too?
Yes, Anakin flashbacks and the Order 66 flashbacks.
Yeah, that's what I'm talking about, the Order 66, when you see him
Both, yeah. He actually was killing the younglings. You get to see another point of view from it. And episode 6 was also great, where we got to see... Because in episode 5, they actually didn't fight. And episode 6 kind of redeemed it to where, in episode 3, where it was kind of clunky or a little bit, this was a good, proper duel. I was kind of surprised Obi-Wan won. I'm not going to lie. That's okay. I'm fine with it,
With, regarding Obi-Wan beating Vader... That did feel weird to me at first, but when I think about it, when you think about it deep, Vader is probably not that used to a suit. Sure, he's been there for 10 years, but 10 years is even not enough yet for, a suit like that. You're basically, when he was Anakin, he was doing all these jumps, doing all these acrobatic moves, and now he's Vader, he can't do none of that crap anymore. He has to get used to that, and it takes a long time to get used to that. Ewan McGregor's acting is really good. Especially with episode 6, he is super on point, man. When he said, Anakin, because that is Anakin, the voice. Whenever I hear Anakin, in a Vader suit, it hits different, man. It hits different. It just hits different. Because Vader, you hear Vader all the time. He has this deep voice. He doesn't really sound like Anakin. But when you hear him with Anakin's voice, it's not the same. It's man, this is actually Anakin. It's not just some monster, But overall, this show has some super good moments, and it also has its super mediocre moments. I wouldn't really say bad, but just super mediocre, which is bad. Especially around episode 4. That's the low point of the show. It just went super low there.
I
And-
remember, by the way, we were talking about how episode 4, after watching it, we were really disappointed. We were like, okay, the next 2 episodes better be bangers, or else this show is gonna flop. And they were bangers. So
Overall, this series, Obi-Wan Kenobi gets season 1. Maybe there's a season 2. We'll see. Probably not. But this gets a 7 out of 10 for me.
7.
7 is good.
I was about to say, yeah. I would give this show a solid 7 out of 10. I would say. I think this show. I would say there are better Star Wars shows like Clone Wars, Mandalorian, but there's something about the show. You know, there's a lot of scenes, a lot of moments that I really appreciate. You know, them fighting, Qui-Gon coming in. I want to give it. I might even be inclined to give it a 7.5.
Nah, I think this show is on par with the Book of Boba Fett.
You know, yeah, it's a 7 because Book of Boba Fett was like a what was it? We rated that a 7.
This show is a lot less consistent than Book of Boba Fett. Book of Boba Fett, at least like all of its episodes were very pretty enjoyable. Overall, you know, this show's pretty good. I like it. I'm happy it did a turnaround. I expected it to be completely dog crap after the 4th episode, but it turned around and turned out to be a pretty good show. All right, not the best. Definitely.
Obviously, we had a lot higher expectations. Like, I think everyone had such high expectations for the show. And while I think they could have done better, I think this show could have been like a 9 out of 10 or something like that.
But yeah, that's what we think of Obi-Wan. I'd recommend it, but maybe skip episode 4. But
don't go in here thinking like with high expectations. Don't do it, because
especially not with the first 4 episodes. It's not going to be.
Well, listen,
it's
I would say
good.
the first episode, I would say, really wraps you in. It really kind of shows what we were all wondering about. So I would say episode 1 is pretty good.
Yeah, but it's not mind-blowing. Like, I expected this show to be mind-blowing, but it's not really that.
It's not mind-blowing, but I still think I think episodes 1, 5, and 6 really good.
Well, yeah, so thoughts on the show. You can comment down your thoughts below. We'll be reviewing probably Book of Boba Fett. I know it's we're months late, but we'll probably record that. This is Entertainment Crew, signing
Out.